Hey guys, I'm a Hellhound, and as you may or may not know, Black Sabbath is my favorite band of all time, and I love both the Ozzy era and the Dio era, pretty much equally. I can't choose over the other. You know, it's a very close choice because they're so different. They feel like two different bands that are both my favorite bands still. I love both eras. Obviously, there's more Ozzy material than there is, you know, albums with Ronnie James Dio fronting the band. But the Dio albums are just nothing short of incredible. So anyway, I've reviewed, since they're my favorite band, I figured, I need to have a lot of discussions about them on my channel. And I've already reviewed Master of Reality, which is Black Sabbath's third album, one of the Ozzy fronted albums, obviously, and one of the greatest metal albums ever made, right up there with Paranoid and Sabotage, which I'd really like to review Sabotage at some point. But I figured since I already reviewed one of the Ozzy albums, I think the next necessary step, the next obvious direction when it comes to Sabbath would be to review one of the albums fronted by Ronnie James Dio. And I couldn't decide between Heaven and Hell or Mob Rule, so I figured I'm just going to review both of them. Starting with Heaven and Hell. This is the first album to feature the incredible vocal talents of Mr. Ronnie James Dio, who is one of my all-time favorite vocalists, right up there with Rob Halford and Bruce Dickinson. His powerful pipes are just, they never fail to impress me. Even in his later years, even in his older days, he could still deliver those incredible, powerful vocals, I just worship this man. He was my idol. He was one of my all-time heroes. I just love him. And also Tony Iommi, of course, as you know, is one of my all-time favorite guitarists. I mean, he's just a riff master. The man can do no wrong. He invented heavy metal single-handedly with his 6 strings, and he's just a god amongst men. Geezer Butler is also one of my favorite bass players. He's just infinitely talented. And Bill Ward is a very, very remarkable drummer as well. So this is just a powerhouse. Now this is actually the only album featuring Bill Ward on drums of the Dio fronted albums. He'd be replaced by Vinny Appice on the next one, Mob Rules. And usually when they had Dio fronting the band, Vinny Appice would rejoin on drums as well. So it's kind of interesting, because like they had the Ozzy Osbourne, Bill Ward era, and then the Dio and Appice era. So anyway, first a little background. After the kind of subpar albums that were Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die, Ozzy Osbourne was fired from the band. They knew they had to make a change, and unfortunately it had to be Ozzy. But the thing is, that was the best thing for everybody, because then Ozzy Osbourne teamed with Randy Rhoads to deliver some truly great albums, like his solo material, such as Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman, Bark at the Moon, No Rest for the Wicked. So many great albums. He also had like Zach Wilde and Jake E. Lee, Bob Daisley. He always had talented musicians in his corner. He surrounded himself by some of the best players in rock and roll history. And so Dio, Ronnie James Dio, who was fresh from Rainbow, the Richie Blackmore's band after he left Deep Purple, was fresh out of Rainbow. They released 3 incredible albums, which I recommend you check out. I've reviewed Rising before, so check that out if you haven't already. He had just left Rainbow and joined up with Tony Iommi and company to bring this masterpiece of metal, of heavy metal perfection. And so yeah, Ronnie James Dio replaced Ozzy Osbourne, and it was the right thing to do. He breathed new life into the band. Whereas the last couple albums were not all that good. It didn't really feel like true Sabbath. This album really brought them back. This album just made them relevant again. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't listen to anything by Black Sabbath unless it's Ozzy." They're missing out. You're truly missing out. You're being closed-minded. But you're only punishing yourself, because this album is a must listen if you're into heavy metal. Yeah, gosh, I just love these guys. They're so talented. Ronnie James Dio, I've praised his vocals ad nauseum. I even made a video, Ozzy versus Dio, where I love both of them. They're both great in their own way. But when it comes to voice alone and songwriting skills, I'm going to have to say Ronnie James Dio blows Ozzy out of the water. I'm sorry. I still love you, Ozzy. He's the Prince of Darkness. He's done a lot for metal, and he's got a truly unique and ominous voice, and awesome stage presence, and theatrical frontman skills, and he's a great entertainer and a very cool person too. Biting the heads off of bats and doing all kinds of stuff. He's definitely the man's definitely heavy metal in every way. But Ronnie James Dio was just one of a kind. He was a true icon. But anyway, I'm not going to compare them to this whole video. Let's go ahead and get to Heaven and Hell, the first album featuring Ronnie James Dio with Black Sabbath. What an awesome cover, too. A bunch of angels sitting around smoking cigarettes. That's just so cool. Yeah, there's my man. Yeah, gosh, with Ronnie James Dio, team up with Tony Iommi, I mean, how can you go wrong? You can't. That's the answer. You can't. All right, anyway, yeah, this album starts out with Neon Nights, and as soon as you pop this in your player and you hear that opening riff, one of Tony Iommi's best, you know you're in for something special. I love Ozzy to death, and I always will. He's one of my heroes as well, but I think he held them back a little bit. Tony Iommi even said himself, he could have came up with the greatest riff that he'd ever written, but Ozzy wasn't able to sing to it. Now, I think Ozzy did definitely get better over the years and more capable, but he did limit them a little bit, and all the members, even Ozzy himself, even admitted that. So, I'm not bashing Ozzy at all. I'm just saying Ronnie James Dio did things for this band that they never thought possible. His range is just incredible. He was just all over the place. His powerful, powerful vocals, which, he was such a, he's only standing at like 5'4" or 5'5" for such a small person. Shoo, what an immense, sheer scale of talent. He was just oozing with charisma and greatness. He also wrote pretty cool lyrics as well. Ozzy hardly ever wrote anything. It was usually Geezer Butler, the bass player, writing all the lyrics until Gio joined, and then he took over the songwriting, so Geezer could focus more on his bass. But anyway, yeah, enough of that. Yeah, Neon Nights. This album just comes. You put on this album, Neon Nights comes in, and it just grabs you by the balls and never lets go. Then you have Children of the Sea, which is a slightly slower, more melodic, really in-depth, really a moving song, which figures another one of my favorite Dio performances. And this one he sings a little, more, he usually has a powerful range. He's always hitting really high notes and holding them and just really belting it out. But in this movie, he kind of really sings melodically and beautifully. And it's just so haunting and so moving. It really speaks to me every time I hear it. It's just incredible. Then we have Lady Evil, which is a really cool chronicle about a wicked witch who lives in the woods, and it really paints a really vivid picture, some really dark horror imagery, and a very catchy chorus. Again, the lyrics are by Ronnie James Dio and features some of his finest vocal acrobatics. So we have Heaven and Hell, which starts out with another really beautiful, really moving Dio performance. When he sings that line, "Sing me a song, you're a singer," it's just incredible. And he sings so slow and so sadly, just so his woeful vocals are just oh man, just so much emotion put into it. Okay, be right out. So much emotion put into it. And that's the title track, Heaven and Hell. Features one of Tony Iommi's best guitar riffs as well. It's just incredible. Then we have Wishing Well, which kind of sounds like a more poppy, kind of more radio-friendly, kind of more commercial tune with some really cool, magical, exciting lyrics. And it's kind of underrated. It's kind of a different tone. Has a kind of a different feel from the rest of the album. But I love Wishing Well. Yeah, as I said, it's a little more poppy, kind of mainstream stuff. And a lot of people hate on it for that, but I freaking love it. I think it's a very catchy and very fun tune to listen to. Then we have Die Young, Walk Away, Lonely is the Word. Some of the best lyrics that have ever been written. Some of the best vocals, best guitar melodies, best rhythms. This album's just it's too great. These people are too talented for their own good. They really, really made a masterpiece. And I can't decide between this one or Mob Rules. They're both so great in their own ways. They both have excellent songs. There's really no filler on this album. It's all good. And it was definitely, getting Ronnie James Dio to front the band is definitely the right thing to do. Be right out! So yeah, check it out if you haven't already. Sadly, Ronnie James Dio is no longer with us. Rest in peace. He would be sorely missed. He was my hero. He was my idol. He had so much talent. He's one of my favorite singers. And this album's a testament to that. Check it out. And if you're just listening to the Ozzy material and refuse to listen to anything else, come on, man. Get over yourself and put this album in your player. You would not be disappointed. Download it on iTunes. Do whatever you have to do. Listen to these tracks as they beg to be heard, and they are a force to be reckoned with. Rest in peace, Dio. Long live Black Sabbath. I know Tony Iommi's still got some more. He'll never run out of riffs. He's one of the most creative, most ingenious, most insightful players ever to grace the four strings with his amazing presence. Yeah, something's going on in the other room. I apologize for all the noise. Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. Check it out, and stay tuned for my review of Mob Rules, the second album featuring Ronnie James Dio, and the first to feature drummer Vinny Appice joining their amazing arsenal of haunting tunes. Black Sabbath, my favorite band of all time, and Heaven and Hell is one of my favorite albums of all time. Alright guys, I'm Hellhound. Thank you for watching, and as Ronnie James Dio would say, rock on.